Hey AfterBuzzers! Today we have a very special guest in studios today. She is an actress, she's a dancer, and she's a philanthropist. Please welcome in just a bit, Anna Marie Dobbins.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz
begin. We were just laughing about this song backstage. You're looking really fly right now. Are you feeling fly?
Thank you. I'm feeling so fly. Are you feeling fly?
I'm feeling awesome.
Yeah, feeling our best.
So today we have our very own Alabama native moved to LA, but you're not new to LA. You've been visiting like throughout your childhood and adulthood.
Right.
We talked a little bit behind the scenes about the culture shock. You said it wasn't that huge because you're used to LA by now, but initially when you came out to LA, anything that stood out to you where you're like, wow, this is so different from Alabama right now?
Things that were the food, totally different. You know, it's a totally different vibe. At home, everything's fried food, sweet tea. They don't have that here. Everything's very good and healthy food, which is great, but I wasn't used to that, so that was a shock.
Vegan lifestyle?
Yeah, that's not how I was raised. I was not, I was raised to eat meat. No, and then the other things, probably slang terms that like I say that other people have no idea what I'm saying. Like if I go to the grocery store, I call it a buggy.
A buggy?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've never heard that before.
Like the thing that you push, yeah, I'm like, where's your buggy?
Oh, the shopping cart.
A shopping cart, yeah, but I call it a buggy. And people are like, where are you from? And I'm like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing, type of thing. But yeah, it's the things I say. Or I say the thing like, okay, if you're having a sleepover, right?
Slumber party.
A slumber party, whatever. And you put a bunch of pillows on the floor and you're going to sleep on the floor. What do you call that?
A fortress.
We call it a pallet.
A pallet.
A pallet.
I
Yeah,
like
my boyfriend
that.
makes fun of me. He's like, that's not a pallet. A pallet's a wooden thing that you use. Or you think of a makeup palette. Yeah, no, we call it a pallet.
But I love that even though you've been here for so long, you still have that Southern charm. And it's
well, thanks.
very endearing. LA
you.
hasn't like really taken over you.
No.
Just yet. You still have your roots
They
in
won't
place.
get me. It won't get me.
So, you grew up dancing, but also acting. But dancing came first. That was your first love, right?
Right.
So what is it about both dancing and acting that really makes you feel alive? Because they're both different, but they're both art forms.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I grew up dancing. My mom owns a dance studio, so I was born and bred a dancer. It's just two different types of art forms where dancing is very physical, and I'm able just to go into a studio, put on some music, and just kind of escape that way. And for acting, it's more of a mental thing, so it's a mental escape. So, I feel like they go hand in hand because you need both. So it's nice. They're nice escapes in different ways.
So you recently escaped into a new realm, and this was the show that we're gonna highlight. It was a Lifetime movie, hour and a half, and it's called "Stalked by My Doctor: Patience Revenge."
Dun dun dun.
I know, it's so
Dramatic.
captivating. I watched the trailer and everything. So tell me a little bit more about that.
About the film?
Yeah, tell me about like what it was like immersing yourself in that role. And
it was a lot of fun. So it was a really quick turnaround, which a lot of people don't realize, and it doesn't really happen.
It was a week and a half, right?
A week and a half.
Yeah,
it was a week and a half turnaround from when I got booked to when we started shooting, and then it was only 3.5 weeks on set. So the whole thing was just flew by really quickly. So it doesn't give you a lot of prepared time as an actor to really dive into your character and figure out who you have to do it really quickly. So it was countless nights of staying up all night, figuring out who Melissa was, what's her background, what is her motivation, why does she, want to do the things she does, and who does she fight for, and why does she fight for them. So that was a lot of fun, and it was just kind of like a speed round, so you just had to do it fast. And then being on set, it was like 12-hour days. It'd start off in the morning where I would have like an action scene, and then go by lunchtime, I'm doing like a dramatic crying scene. At the nighttime, I'm doing like a comedy scene. So it's like I would go through the full range of emotions in just one day. So
how do you like cleanse yourself from that? Because it's so emotionally overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do when you get home to be like, okay, the work day is done. Time to like relax so I can
have a
do
glass
this all
of wine,
over again.
go to sleep.
That's it.
Glass of wine, go to sleep. Well, study lines before, because you have to study for the next day. So you go home, study lines, have a glass of wine, melt down, and go to bed. Yeah, go to bed.
And when you finally see yourself on screen after all that comes into play and like you put in all this effort, like fully immersing yourself into the role, how do you feel watching yourself back?
Oh my God, it's awkward. Who wants to watch themselves? It was so awkward.
A lot of actors say that.
It's really hard. It's really hard because you just want to, I mean, everybody does. They want to nitpick and be like, oh, I could have done this differently and this differently. So it's really hard to watch yourself. We did it at a screening party. So we were all there, all the cast and crew together watching it. So it was fun. We were able to all like laugh at the things that happened and we remember certain things, you know, all together. Like at one point I was doing a fighting scene and I face planted the camera. Like I thought I broke this like $1 million camera. I was like, this camera's worth more than my life. Like I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired. It's the second day on set. And so we were all laughing about that again, you know, when that scene actually happened. They were like, remember that time you almost broke your face? I was like, thanks, you know. Yes, I do remember.
The camera can be replaced, but the face, no.
At that point I was like, no, I can be replaced in 5 seconds. I can find somebody else. But thank you. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was really quick and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
You've done a lot more too. So you were in Footloose, you were in Being Mary Jane, Vampire Diaries, I can keep going on. Like what's one thing that stood out to you the most out of all the different roles that you've done?
Well, they're all so different in their own ways. Some of my favorite projects is the horror stuff. I'm a sucker for horror movies, so I just did a web series, and it was just blood and gore, and to see how they do it, see the behind the scenes, that type of thing. It's just so cool, you know. And so I think that's my favorite genre to film, just because of that. But they're all those projects are so different. It's hard to compare like which one would be like my favorite role I've done, you know?
You know when you watch horror, how it's always like you're on the edge of your seat, but a lot of that is because of post-production and the music.
Right.
What's it like when you're actually, like, do you have to use a lot of your imagination to, like, feel that intensity of horror when you don't hear the music when you're acting?
Yeah, 100%. You don't hear the music. Usually the monster's not there. Sometimes it's, you know, put in post-production, but if there is a monster or, you know, your arm isn't really getting cut off, so you have to pretend, and you're not actually in a haunted house by yourself. Like, there's 100 film crew around you, you know? So
where does your mind go? What's your greatest fear where you're like, no.
Oh, my greatest fear, heights, and that's a scary one. Spiders, there's a lot I can pull from.
So that's what you tap into?
Yeah, there's a lot I can pull from, for sure. There was one where we filmed in this haunted house that actually was a haunted house, and it was in Pasadena, and I was like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? And it's just so, yeah. But there was these bees that were all over the whole property. And in one scene, I was walking out the door and I stepped and I was barefoot. I was like running out or whatever. The thing was chasing me. I was running out and I stepped and I'm barefoot on a bee. Mid-scene, the camera's in my face and I'm like, guys, sorry, I'm gonna have to yell cut, but I just got stung by a bee. And they're like, what? So then I had a fear the whole time that I was gonna get stung by all these bees. They're literally everywhere. I'm like, that's just a horror movie in itself. Like,
it literally is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you overcame the worst of the worst.
I guess so.
And then fantasy became reality for you.
It did.
In that sense.
It did.
I also want to talk about how in a recent interview you were talking about how you actually love the auditioning process, which is super rare because everyone like freaks out about it because there's a million people that look exactly like you going for the same thing, super cutthroat. What is it about the auditioning process where you're like, I'm just gonna kill it, I'm gonna do my best? Like, how do you get yourself in that positive mindset where you actually end up enjoying it?
Yeah, well, for me, it's a game, you know, and I want to win the game. And going in there, if you have the mindset that everyone around you is like you and you freak yourself out about it, you're already taking yourself out of it, you know? And instead of going in and enjoying the process, and I like to sit in there and talk to people and get to know the people I'm auditioning with, because it's, at the end of the day, it's not between each of us because of talent. It could be anything, you know. It could be because I was too short for that one role or too tall or whatever it is. So it's like if we treat each other like we're all competition, we're not going to get anywhere. So we have to, you know, just go in and do your best and just book the role if you can, you know.
It's about realizing we all have a different set of talents.
Exactly.
And if something is meant for you, it's totally meant for you, you're going to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is it about you that you think makes yourself stand out from other people? Like, what do you think is very unique to your personality?
What's unique about me? I don't know. I have a lot of weird quirks and things I do. Maybe, I don't know.
I think it's easier for maybe other people to observe than us to observe within ourselves.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But yeah, maybe if you watch yourself more watch yourself
I don't
back
like to watch
more.
myself.
I know, it's cringeworthy. We all feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk a bit about charity because you do you involve yourself in a lot of different things. I looked at your social media and I saw that you had the Boo to Bullying, but I also know that you're involved with the Make-A-Wish Foundation as well, which is super cool.
Yeah.
What are you super passionate about when it comes to, having a voice and standing up for other people? Like, what's one cause that you really want to talk about?
There's so many different ones, and there's so many different charities that I believe in, and but I mean, for Make-A-Wish, I mean, that one is just too true to your heart, because these kids can't help it. They're born this way, and why not help someone who can't change the outcome of whatever's going to happen? So why not give them the best, moment or experience that they can have? So just to put towards that, just to see that smile on their face, like I have a big heart for kids. I teach dance as well, and so I teach at an underprivileged school to kids who can't afford dance. So it's just being able to open opportunities for people who otherwise maybe can't have that.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Was there a specific Make-A-Wish Foundation or like one wish that really stood out to you that made you emotional, that was able to come to fruition for that kid?
Yeah. So back in Alabama, we partnered with Make-A-Wish Alabama, and the kids actually came into the mom's studio, and they wanted to dance with some of the top choreographers in the nation. So we actually brought in a lot of the choreographers so they could take classes with people who danced with J-Lo or whoever it is, So that one I was actually there to be in person to witness it instead of just watching, from a video like them going to Disneyland. I was actually there to see their face light up, and that was, I mean, you just bawl on the set, you're just going like, what in the world am I doing? Like, this is amazing. And just to see them know these choreographers. I mean, they were huge that have been on So You Think You Can Dance or whatever it is, and they just idolize them. And so being able to bring that to them and so they can have that experience was probably one of my favorite.
That's amazing, and thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Yeah, of course.
I guess we did learn a lot about you in such a short period of time, which is really fun. We'd love to have you back again soon.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Where can everyone find you on social media?
Yeah, so on Instagram and Twitter, it is amdobbins91.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna Marie.
Thank you.
See ya, AfterBuzzers.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.